Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
TNA crosses the line again with another action-packed episode of Impact Wrestling as we roll on to Rebellion in a 3 or 4 weeks' time. There are some title implications, some shocking surprises, and returns in this episode of Impact Wrestling, which starts with the eight-person or 8-4-1 match, which is the number one contendership match for the Knockouts Championship. Now, before the match starts, Tom Hannifan on commentary basically says that Ash by Elegance has had cosmetic surgery and she can't compete in this match, and that taking her place would be the returning Steph DeLander. And this match began straight away. It is as crazy as the match sounds. It was a crazy, crazy beginning. Danny Luna, the other people in this was Danny Luna, Rosemary, Zaya Brookside, and Steph DeLander started the eight-person tag. That was also against Misha Slamovich. That was against Havoc, which is Danny Luna's partner. It was against Jody Fret, who's Danny Luna's partner, and Alicia Edwards, Eddie Edwards' other half. The team of Danny Luna, Zaya Brookside, Steph DeLander and Rosemary won the first part with a small package, and then it goes on to the fatal four-way match in which a returning Matt Cardona got involved to help Steph DeLander hit the TKO on Rosemary and advance to Rebellion to take on Jordan Grace. So that is going to be Steph DeLander, Jordan Grace at Rebellion. That is going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to watch that match in a couple of weeks' time. I go to the parking lot after that, and Chris Sabin and Steve Macklin was arguing, and basically Chris Sabin says he'll be the man to go and make the match with Santino to make sure that this match will be happening, as we know that it did. Chris Shetty as well met with Sabin and Kushida in in a really interesting shirt. Sabin complained about the issues that they're all having together, so it's still really not. The issues with the Motor City Machine Guns and Kushida, or the Time Splitters and Chris Sabin, still haven't been sorted out at this point. Speaking of issues, that goes to Bullet Club ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. They were talking backstage about Jake something, who we just finished up interviewing on this channel, winning the match for the challenge for Mustafa Ali at Rebellion. But Ace Austin was even upset at Chris Bay for being in the match. And actually, they need to focus on the tag team titles. So I'm not sure where they're going with this. We seem to have a few teams with a few issues right now in Impact Wrestling. Hopefully, both teams can resolve that soon. Although we will talk about the Motor City Machine Guns at the end of the show. Zach Gibson was next from the Grizzled Young Veterans, and he was complaining about Cody Deaner costing the match last week, if you remember. Cody Deaner come out and basically said that Santino gave him the chance to pick his opponent today. Gibson said that he was traveling through the city and on nothing but mutants, but Deaner likes these mutants and he polls the fans out on which loudmouth prick he should beat up. He actually slugged Gibson before grappling around with James Gray. And at this point in the show, Ray Wold and Hannifan on commentary were having an argument. It was brilliant. With ended up with Hannifan saying to Ray Wold, "Shut up, you stupid Chicago bald man." Probably one of Hannifan's best lines in TNA. At this point, they actually had the match of the Grizzled Young Veterans in a 2-on-1 handicap match against Cody Deaner, and you can probably gather they beat Cody Deaner on 2-on-1. Drake used a scarf, and then they hit a double code breaker on Deaner to win. The Grizzled Young Veterans pick up the win after a few defeats as well. And let's not forget. Out the back, Gia Miller was speaking to Nick Nemeth, talking about Rebellion against Moose. And he was talking about facing Moose at Rebellion, but then he was interrupted by Alex Shelley. And again, he was blaming Kushida for throwing the towel in and costing him the title, which led to Nick Nemeth challenging Alex Shelley to a match. Shelley wanted a date for it, but Nick Nemeth didn't provide him with a date. And if that match should happen, I cannot wait to see that match. If that match is actually announced for TNA at any point, it will be amazing. Interestingly enough, Josh Alexander walked out now, and we know there's issues with Hammerstone. They won all in the match. Hammerstone was a bit dirty in the last match and picking up the victory. Alexander said that Santino also gave him an open contract tonight, and he wants Hammerstone tonight in the ring. But instead, Tracy Williams comes out, and Williams said that if Hammerstone didn't want to fight him, that's fine because he does. And Josh Alexander and Tracy Williams had an absolute, well, must-see match. It is absolutely, it was unbelievable. It really was. There was Kimuras, and interestingly enough, actually, Williams did put Josh Alexander in a Kimura, and it was great commentary from Hanny Fan because he brought up the torn triceps in 2023 that Alexander had. So using the Kimura would obviously look for the tap out, which he didn't get. Josh Alexander wins with a C4 spike. And I tell you what, this was one of TNA's best television matches. You could even argue even better than some of the pay-per-view matches that you've seen. Tracy Williams was brilliant in this match. The fans even chanted both these guys at the end of this. They shook hands. It was a brilliant match. If you go out your way to watch one match today or this weekend, go and watch this one on TNA. It was fantastic. Hammerstone was there, though. He did jump Alexander from behind of a lariat, and he elbowed Williams in the head. Then he put Williams in the torture rack. There's a lot of post-match interference going on at the moment, but this was a really effective bit to have Hammerstone come out and do that, put the headgear on of Josh's, put the torture rack on Williams. It really sends a message out to Josh Alexander about he's still there and he's still for him. So that match will most certainly happen in the future for sure. TNA done a great job of hyping up Mustafa Ali because he was on the cover of PWI as well. So there was a bit there where Ali was complaining that Josh something isn't fit for the X division, and Santino very much reminds him that Samoa Joe was also an X division champion and that there is no limits in an X division. Interestingly enough, though, Rhino and Ali, I believe, in a non-title old school rules match next week on Impact. Very, very, very interesting that match will be. Eddie Edwards was next against Speedball Mike Bailey. We just said how good Alexander and Williams was. This was just as good. It was, Mike Bailey never has a bad match. Speedball Mike Bailey, I've never seen a bad match from Speedball Mike Bailey. Eddie Edwards is that experienced head in there as well. There was so much going on in this match. There was also a bit where he went for the ultimate weapon, but Alicia Edwards come back during the back end of this match, and then Eddie Edwards hits the Boston Knee Party to win it. But this was a great blend of story and in-ring work, which is really synonymous at the moment with this new era of TNA wrestling. I can't agree with that enough because it's been so good watching some great in-ring mixed in with some great storylines. And speaking of that, brings me right next to the bit that I've been looking forward to seeing is that PCO wants a Monsters Ball match with Con, and I believe we're getting that at some point. And then, as a massive shock to me, the full-blooded Italians, the FBI, are going to be on TNA Wrestling next week. It's going to be brilliant to see Nunzio or Little Guido and all of those guys back from ECW next week. It will be. I can't wait to watch it. Kazarian was also there, and he will be facing his EY in a Full Metal Mayhem. But he says that he was the king of TNA, and he's going to wrestle Chris Bay next week, I believe, in a match, and another one of Bullet Club's ABC, which will be, again, just as like Eddie Edwards and Speedball Mike Bailey. It will be on that level. It should be a fantastic match next week on TNA. We then finally got Rich Swann from the last week, if you remember. He comes down with AJ Francis. He wasn't going to talk about why he did it, why he turned on Joe Hendry. He said he was dealing with a losing streak and Francis took him from being on top to even higher. He was going to snap the losing streak, but Joe Hendry blind tagged himself in and cost him the match, and that's why he turned on him. This is great work from both Rich Swann and AJ Francis, and I think we didn't see this side of AJ Francis enough in WWE as top dollar. They, you know, for whatever reason, but you're just seeing a great side of him here in TNA. And it's showing him how talented he actually is. We kind of knew he was decent enough on the mic, but he's getting even better now. And it's really good to see, really refreshing to see AJ Francis sort of being into his own a bit on TNA. We had a bit of a chat now with Tom Hannifan, sorry, and Laredo Kid. They don't really know much about him. He said he started in 2003, got signed to Triple R in Mexico. He faced Vikingo over a year ago and had an intestinal injury and almost ended his life. And travel issues prevented him getting a digital media title shot, but he will earn that shot again. And it'll be good to see. I didn't actually know that myself about Laredo Kid, so it's good to see him battle back from really some serious injuries and back to trying to win gold. We then get to a main event when I was talking to Jake something about this, and I said it was going to be Steve Macklin and Chris Sabin, and he said it's pay-per-view quality, and it absolutely was. Steve Macklin is the MVP of TNA, and you know what you're going to get with Chris Sabin. Macklin did actually end up getting the win on this match as well, but he was so good, and Macklin's doing his best work, and his stock is rising as the weeks go on TNA, and I don't think many people would argue when saying that there will be another title in Steve Macklin's possession at some point in the future. And TNA was another fantastic show. There has been some news about TNA, and we don't necessarily know if this is 100% true or not, but it does seem like the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are finishing up with TNA over the next few weeks. If that is the case, incredibly sad news there. Them two have kind of been Mr. TNA 1 and 2 for so long now. But, you know, as you do in wrestling, things have to move on. And if they want to move on and go on to do what they want to do, then they go with, I suppose they'll have everyone's best wishes, and TNA will be just fine. They've got some fantastic young talent there, like Jake Something and others, ready to pick up the ball. But we do wish the Motor City Machine Guns well, but we still get to see them at least for next week on TNA, and we'll look forward to that. And we'll see you again very, very soon for another TNA review. Until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe. Goodbye.